to get up to maybe 79 or 80 degrees this afternoon, which will be nice and warm.
Okay,
Nice and
great.
warm. Yeah.
It's really nice to meet you finally.
Yeah.
After so many call schedules, rescheduling,
I know. I
we
know.
finally meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah. Nice,
Henrik was
nice to meet you too. I feel like we're old friends.
yeah, right, same. So, can you brief me how did you get into the education industry and how it has been so long? Do you enjoy still or how it is?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, the way I got into education was by accident, in the sense that I was decades ago.
Right.
I was a graduate student at MIT in the electrical engineering department. Right now, it's called electrical engineering and computer science, but they didn't have the
Uh-huh.
computer science at that time. And I needed support, financial support for me for tuition and for my living expenses. And so
Right.
I became a teaching assistant in undergraduate applied probability course. And I fell in love with the content of applied probability, and
Hmm.
I fell in love with teaching. And so now for 50 plus years at MIT, I've been a teacher. So first of all, as a teaching assistant, then as assistant professor, associate professor, full professor, and now a chaired professor. You know, so that's how I got into it, and I fell in love with it because I love to see the eyes light up of the students as you
Hmm.
as you as you engage them,
Right.
and
Yes, absolutely.
and you talk about some things that they think are complicated. They don't want to focus, and all of a sudden they understand it and they smile and they're engaged and they've learned something, and that to me is a big gift.
Right. Yeah. Even uh, so, as a teacher, you are successful when you are able to engage your students, and
Yes,
they are just not sitting there. Uh, uh, just it is just like their bodies are there in the class, and their minds are not there. Right. So
that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So
Now,
even
right.
in my school days, so I had a professor, a teacher, my teacher. He was a physics teacher, and he was so good that even seeing at any student's face, he could understand that that particular student didn't understood what he just taught. So yeah, that's a really good gift, I must say. And yeah, so you want to add anything?
And then say again.
You want to add anything? You want to
Do I
say
want to add? Do
anything?
I want to add anything? No, it's just that teaching is a very enjoyable experience. And
Right.
when I started in electrical engineering and I got a research teaching assistantship,
Hmm.
I did it just for financial purposes, and I didn't do it because I thought teaching was good. And all of a sudden, I fell in love with teaching. I fell in love with my students, I mean, not in a romantic way, but engaging with the students. And
Right.
so that's how it all started.
Great. Okay. So, also, as you have been in MIT since last 50 years, right? So, how is the journey? And so 50 years is a long time. So, you must have seen a lot of technological advancements in your university in MIT, basically. So, how did you leverage those technological advancements? And uh, how did you use them for your teaching purposes?
Well, the technological advances. I mean, the internet. When I started, there was no internet,
Right.
so the internet was born during this period, and I was quickly, I think, one of the first to realize that the internet can provide the democratization of educational opportunities worldwide to both rich and poor communities. And so I tried to latch on to these things when they became available. And sometimes I was one of the first. So I mentioned the MIT Blossoms program, Blended Learning Open Source Science and Math Studies. And that was motivated by a trip I made to China with my wife, a soulmate. And we saw, basically we saw in a very poor village, a teacher showing videotapes of a world-class teacher in Hong Kong. And he would pause the videotape every once in a while and interact with the students live. And it was a really good teaching experience for these students from this very poor community. And we came back and I talked to my soulmate, Liz Murray, my wife, and I said, what if we designed videos to be interacted like this and posted them on the web? We didn't have a web then, Jim. We had the internet. Posted them on the internet, and I gave them to the world. And she thought that was a wonderful idea. So we did that, and we created Blossoms, Blended Learning Open Source Science and Math Studies. And I think we have about 60 interactive videos made by really good teachers, and those are now available permanently on YouTube. And we're very proud of that. The other thing that we realized early on with technology is that it links together communities worldwide. So we created something called LINC, L-I-N-C, Learning International Networks Consortium. And in the first years of LINC, we had several symposia, both at MIT and overseas in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. And we were quite proud of that as well.
Okay, great. I must say that 50 years is a long time. And right now, as you see the new generation, right, you might have encountered with a lot of students who are from the latest generation, post 2000, right? So
Yes.
how that those students are different from the ones who were from 80s or 90s? How do you differentiate, or how do you deal with them, basically?
That's a difficult thing to generalize. And plus, also now I'm retired, so I'm not currently these days. I'm no longer teaching. When the COVID 2-year lockdown hit here in the U.S., that's when I stopped going to the MIT campus, and I totally stopped teaching and supervising students. But
Right.
my feeling is that most students these days, when they're learning things, have their computer turned on and are doing it via computer. And sometimes they confuse a Google search on something with learning. So if they need the answer to a particular thing, they'll do a Google search. They find the answer. They think they've learned something. All they've learned is a fact. They really haven't learned anything in the process. See, I say the process is the answer. The answer is not the answer. The process that leads to that's what you want to remember. And
Right.
yeah, so I'm old fashioned. I wonder if I have it in here. Yeah, I like pencil and paper. Can you see that? I like pencil
Yeah.
and paper. And in my most recent book, Model Thinking for Everyday Life, this is an interactive book. And I say, turn off your computers. I said, this book does not exist on a computer system. It only exists in paper. And every two or
Right.
three pages, I challenge them with some questions related to the material that they just read, and I ask them with pencil and paper to kind of answer the following kind of questions. So I'm an old-fashioned pencil and paper. And when I wrote the book, I made the assertion, but I had no citations for it. I made the assertion that pencil and paper working through problems is more effective for your brain and your learning than doing it on the computer. And I had no citations for this. Since the book has come out, there's been recent research that verifies what I asserted. So luckily, what I said, but I didn't have any reference. Now there are references that correct that say that that's correct. Pencil and paper learning is better than computer-based learning.
Right, absolutely correct. So even if I have to say that when I left my studies and we switched to computers, uh, we we hardly learn anything new
Yeah,
because reading books and having that something in your hand, pen, that impacts a lot. Then
it impacts.
whenever you start reading something and you like a statement, you underline or you highlight that statement, right? And
Yeah,
that statement keeps in your mind for forever. You'll never forget that statement. So yeah, I totally agree with the with that. That we really have to uh, switch from computers to reading books and using the paper basically, right?
paper and pencil. I'm
Yes, right.
old-fashioned guy.
Even I am old-fashioned.
I've rediscovered pencil and paper. Old-fashioned guy.
Yeah, even if we see down the line, maybe 10 years, so we might see pencil and paper, we might see. So at that time, if someone is using pen and paper, so that
Yeah.
might be considered as a new invention for that
Or
generation.
maybe 10 years from now, these will only be available in museums.
Right, correct. Absolutely right.
And parents will tell the children, you know, my grandparents, when they went to school, they told me they use these devices. You've
These
probably never seen
devices.
one of these before.
So they might ask how to use these devices. Is there a button to write? They will write. They will work on their own,
Yeah,
or it is anything else.
yeah. But research has shown that the idea of using the pencil and paper and writing it is great for the communication to your brain, and it logs the information and the process in your brain in a way which is very beneficial.
Right. Yes. Right. Correct. So even in my daily work also, I write and I try to keep those pointers. I use the sticky notes at my workstation and I keep
Oh,
them. Yes. So I
wow.
have a habit of that. Even the people used to write it in what WhatsApp chat. They keep a what notification for a particular thing. So I prefer to go on paper,
Me
right?
too. Me too.
So how's your daily routine? How it look like?
Well, so I'm retired now, but I find out I'm just as busy as ever. I have as much time on the computer as ever. I get lots of media requests, and
Uh,
so I'm quite popular on media right now these days.
right, yes.
There's
I
one,
think so.
and there's another one, and
Right,
basically these media requests are focused on this process of learning, you know,
mm,
and what's involved and how to share that with the world. And
right, correct.
it's quite nice. It's at my stage in the career, in my career, it's very nice that people have recognized these issues and that are coming to me for advice, and
Right.
including including who's who in America.
So yeah, that's I must say that media have has evolved itself over decades, right? From the newspaper, newsletters to coming to on internet, the news or the newspapers over internet, then to other platforms of spreading the news. So there are a lot of platforms like X. So people are on X and they are doing just like they're there. So they spend a lot of time there. commenting and posting everything what they do, daily routine. So I'm sure you are not one of them.
Well, Blossoms has an X account, and
Uh-huh.
so I post something there 2 or 3 times a week if I think it's
Oh,
if I think it's interesting. Yeah,
okay.
some people live on that kind of stuff, but and I don't.
Yes, right. Living
And I
on
don't
that
use
kind of stuff is.
I don't use Facebook, and I don't really do social media.
Mhm. Even I don't use social media. I'm just using LinkedIn as the only social media platform, and I'm happy to use that because LinkedIn is the platform where I see like-minded people can talk and can share uh, fruitful information within their industry or whether not, doesn't matter, but you can at least talk with something in common, right? So yeah, LinkedIn is the platform I
Yeah,
daily
I use
use.
I use that too. I use that too. Again, about 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, I saw your yesterday's post. I guess yesterday or day before yesterday. The post with the CI Look magazine. I commented also on that post.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also shared
Thank you.
that post with my colleagues and with my network. Yeah, I did that.
Thank you.
So so even yeah, I saw your mail chain with Henrik. So you love your dog, right? So uh, what its name, his or her name?
It's a female, and her name is Maisie. Maisie,
Maisie.
Maisie. Where is she now? Oh, uh, can you see her?
Yeah, there she is.
She's sleeping. She's resting. We had a big walk this morning, so she's resting from the walk.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, like me, she's a senior citizen. She's 10 years old.
Okay. So since birth she is with you or
Say again.
she is with you since how much time?
She lives with me
Uh, since when?
since she was a puppy for 10 years. Since
For
she was
10
a
years.
puppy.
That's what I okay,
Yeah,
okay.
10 years. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
she is the one who takes most of your time.
We go on 3 walks each day, 3 leash-free walks each day, out in the woods and the fields, some beautiful parks and forests here in
Mhm.
Lexington. Yeah, and
Okay.
that keeps me active also. I don't know if I'd have the energy and dedication to have as many steps per day if I didn't have Maisie to go along with me. And because on a good weather day, I'll get 10,000 steps, about 3.5 miles.
Yeah, right. Even I try to, but I don't get that much time. But at least I try to complete maybe 5 to 7.
Thousand?
Yeah, 5 to 7,000
That's
steps.
good. That's good.
I try to.
That's good. Good for you.
Yeah. How old are you? I'm just asking.
Guess.
Mm, okay. Uh, 67 or something?
82.
What? 82.
82 years old. I was born in 1943 in the middle of World War II.
Oh my God. Okay. So from childhood only you means you never joined US Army or something like this? Did you join
No,
or you thought of?
um, in a sense, I lucked out in that
Uh,
when the Vietnam War was going on,
Uh-huh.
and I was at what they call draft age, drafted in for the Army, and maybe
Right,
as
yeah.
26 years old or something. At that time,
Mm-hmm.
they had student
Mm-hmm.
deferments. And so at that time, I was a doctoral graduate student at MIT. And because of that, that I could defer my military service until after I got my PhD. Well,
Hmm.
I was lucky because after I got my PhD, there was no more war going on, so they weren't
Hmm.
drafting people anymore. So that was very lucky.
Great. Okay. But you have seen a lot of things in your life, right? A
I certainly
war
have.
first,
I
uh,
certainly have. Yeah, yeah.
a war, then uh, the crisis, then this COVID. A lot of things you have gone through, right?
Well, COVID, if COVID hadn't existed,
Mm-hmm.
this wouldn't exist
Ah,
because
right. Yeah, I must say yes.
when
I
COVID
totally agree.
when COVID started, I said to my
Mm-hmm.
wife, Liz Murray, I said, this could last a long time. This could last 6 months or maybe even a year. I didn't ever never said 2 years. I said I should use this time to do something major. And
Mm.
and and I said to her, and this is the third floor of my house here, which is where my office is. I said to her, my nickname is Dr. Q, Queue for waiting lines. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
I should probably write a book on queuing because if you do a Google search on Dr. Q,
Mm.
Queue, my name shows up right away. Richard Larson, Dr. Q. That's my nickname in the professional world.
Okay.
And she said, no, don't do that. You've been there, done that. You don't have enough passion for that to write a book on queuing. You've been there, done that. You've said everything you want to say about queuing because I do not only the mathematics of queuing, but also the psychology of queuing. The psychology of queuing is quite interesting. So she said, think about it for 2 or 3 days. I'll never forget this conversation. I had a wonderful wife because she was not a yes person. She was as strong or stronger than me, and I'm a strong person. So I thought about it for 3 days, and I said, well, what's my passion? I said, my passion is to reach out to the general population and share with them what I call model thinking. And the model means two things. Model means exemplary thinking,
Mm-hmm.
processes and thinking to be emulated. And
Mm-hmm.
model also means conceptual model and sometimes mathematical model. And
Mm.
so after 3 days, I said to her, "Thank you for that suggestion. I'll never forget your comments there." And that's when I started writing the book. It took me 2 years. And to me, I think it's the best thing I've ever written because it's not to an academic audience. I'm not trying to impress anybody, but it's to a general population. And it's got a lot of good reviews.
Great. Okay. So, just personal question. Who do you live with? Your wife, is she there?
My wife passed away 2 years ago. She died about 2 years ago, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
We had over 40 years together of a magnificent partnership.
mm-hmm.
She was my soulmate. She was much more than a usual wife. She was my soulmate and intellectual partner on Blossoms, the MIT Blossoms program. She was the
Mm-hmm.
project manager of Blossoms. We co-authored papers together, and we
Mm-hmm.
traveled the world together. So, did I tell you about our visit to Saudi Arabia?
Sorry?
And we did I tell you about our visit to Saudi Arabia?
No.
Yeah, we visited lots of places: Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, China, as well as Europe, et cetera, Chile, and South America. But in Saudi Arabia, she was my partner, and we had co-authored papers together, and she was my intellectual partner as well as my wife.
Wife. Yeah.
And so she was up there on stage. She was on stage in front of 400 men in Saudi Arabia, giving them a lecture for 1 hour. And I thought that was so cool because they'd never been lectured to by women before.
Okay. And that too 400
Men.
men. Yes. Great.
There were some women in the audience also, but there was a huge black wall
Hmm.
separating the men and the women because traditionally they don't commingle. So
Hmm.
the women were on one side of the wall in the audience, and the men were on the other side of the wall. But on the men's side, there was 400. It was a large auditorium, and there she
Wow.
is up there for an hour, giving a wonderful PowerPoint presentation. I thought that was great.
Did you record that?
Pardon? No, I didn't. I didn't record it, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Do
sorry.
you have do you have her photo show?
Say again?
Do you have her photo to show?
Yep.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She is.
Nice.
Yeah. Wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful. Yeah. Isn't that
Okay.
nice? Yeah.
Yes.
So I miss her. I think of her every day.
I can understand. Yeah, sure. So you live with Maisie only?
Yes.
Okay. How
Maisie
about
and me.
your
Maisie and me. Yeah.
how about your children's?
I was blessed. We were blessed with three healthy children, uh, son, and then daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
the two sons both live in Texas right now, Austin, Texas. And my daughter
Mm-hmm.
Ingrid lives in Seattle. And Ingrid is the proud mother of two children. And Eric is the proud father of two children. Evan is not married. So I'm the proud grandfather of four children. I'm a grandfather of,
Why Ivan is not married yet?
I don't know. He's very intelligent. He's very smart.
Uh-huh.
And he's very social. I don't know why he's not married yet.
How old he is?
He's like 41.
Oh my God.
Yeah, time. It's time to get married. I I tell him that. I said, Evan, how come you're not married yet? Oh, he says, oh, he says, I date, and I said, but none of these have been serious enough to get married. Anyway, everyone is different. Everyone
Yes,
is different.
right. Yes. So do they visit?
Yeah, they visit and I visit. So
Okay.
in a typical year, they'll each visit here in Lexington, Massachusetts, at least once, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll visit them at their location at least once. For
Okay.
instance, my daughter Ingrid will be here in about a month or so from Seattle, Washington.
Okay. Great. That's great. So yeah, independence is coming. So any plans?
What's coming?
Independence Day?
Oh, July
4th
4th?
July, July 4th.
Uh, Probably just to watch the fireworks here in Lexington.
Oh.
Lexington, where I am right now, I am about 1 mile, 1.4 kilometers from
Mm-hmm.
Lexington Green. And
Mm-hmm.
Lexington Green is the origin of the American Revolution. The first,
Oh,
the first shots were fired by the Minutemen against the Redcoats on Lexington Green.
great.
And
Oh,
it's a very historical place. So this is where the nation of the United States of America was born, in the sense
born.
of
Yeah.
the revolution started here. So if you and the neighboring town Concord is where the fight continued. And so
Mm.
if you hear about the history of the United States, you'll hear about the terms Lexington and Concord are the birthplaces of the country.
Okay.
So I'm proud to be living in the birthplace of the United States.
United States. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Great, great. So, how's your life during the what I say the working phase of your life in MIT before
What-
you retired? So,
Yeah.
before that, I want to ask if COVID was not there, so you were not supposed to retire or what? You said yeah,
Well,
in
no,
COVID you
well, no,
took the
okay.
retirement, right?
So basically, when I was invited to join the faculty, and I was
Mhm. Uh,
26 years old or something like that, 26, 27,
uh-huh.
and had gotten my PhD, joined the faculty. At that time, there was a mandatory retirement age of 65. So I
Right.
said, well, I'll be lucky enough to live to 65. And if I get there, I'll be happy to retire. So then the Supreme Court of the United States, over the next 20 years, said,
Uh-huh.
no, we can't have it at 65 because that's age discrimination. We'll make it 75.
Right.
And so then the mandatory retirement age was 75. And then the Supreme Court visited it again because people, some groups went to the Supreme Court and objected to this. And the Supreme Court agreed, and they said there is no age limit on mandatory
Limits.
retirement. So it's
Right.
infinite. If you can live to
So,
200 years, you don't have to retire if you don't want to. so, so, uh, so when I got to be age 71, which was 11 years ago,
mhm.
uh, I was still teaching at MIT. I still had students, supervising them for theses and blah, 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 blah. I was very active in my company. I had a company with 40 professionals that did operations research consulting. And I said, then I reflected on this. With a student, I said, let's do a mathematical analysis
Mhm.
because something isn't right here. I said, my intuition is when they got rid of the 65 and they put it to 75, there would be a momentary blip. There'd be a temporary blip, and then we get back to the same steady state. But the steady
Mm.
state I was interested in, what is the flow of, for 29 or 30-year olds who are just getting their PhD, the flow of assistant professor positions around the country? And I said, I'm a little bit worried that these older age people like me who are still occupying tenure slots are
Right.
reducing the number of new slots that are available. For instance, at MIT, there are 1,000 tenure slots for the entire university, and that has not changed in 60 years. That has
Mm.
not changed. It's not grown. It's not grown or shrunk. So we did an analysis of it and actually published it in Science Magazine. Published it in Science Magazine. And we found out that because of these changes in the mandatory retirement age and the no mandatory, the number of assistant professor slot, the flow of them had decreased by over 20%. And we wrote a paper and published in Science Magazine. And as a result of that analysis, I went and shared the analysis with all 5 deans at MIT and the president and provost of MIT. And
Mhm.
I said, well, we need to do something. We need to do something to encourage people like me to get off the tenure track.
Mm.
So we open up more slots for young people. And
Right.
I invented something because I said, people don't like to say, "Oh, I'm retired." You have nothing to do. So they still like to be involved. I'd still like to be involved. I'd still like to, if I want to, have to teach. If I want to teach, fine. If I don't, fine. If I want to supervise students, fine. So I'd like to be able to do those things, but I want to be less engaged than I have been, and I want to open up for young people. So I invented something called Professor Post Tenure. Professor Post Tenure. And
Mm.
that's what I wrote up in Science Magazine, explained it to all the deans.
Right.
And I'm the first guy who became MIT professor post tenure. And now It's gone around the whole country, and other universities are following the same model. It's a solution to the issue that people who, as they get older, if their brains are still functioning, they want to engage their brain as a professor, but
Right.
they don't want to block the flow of assistant professors coming in. And so
Hmm.
the professor post tenure, yeah, we take ourselves out of the tenure track, opening up a slot for a 29 or 30-year old. And I'm very proud of that we did that and implemented it.
Right. I want to add to this that I believe that doctors and the teachers, their age limit should not be a barrier for their practice, right? Because as the experience of a doctor increases, his or her ability to uh, do the surgery or do anything increases, right? So their capabilities actually increases. So practice makes them more and more perfect.
As long as their physical and and mental acuity remain good. In other words, as long as their body remains healthy and their brain is still functioning, I agree with
Right.
you. But as a car gets older, an automobile gets older, things can start to decay, and the same with the
Yes.
human body. It's the same with the human body. For instance, I'm not as strong now as I was 20 years ago,
Right.
physically.
That's
Physically strong.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. But with this respect, so I would like to say that uh, so I'll give my own example that when I was getting the my basic education in from uh, first standard to 10th standard, right? So there I got so good teachers that later in my graduation I couldn't get that much potential professors which I wanted to get because so at college level I was not that much engaged because as you say that's the professor's capability to engage your students, their students, right? So at college I felt that this gap makes a difference when a student tries to select or tries to enter in a particular industry.
I
That's
agree
my
with you.
thought.
And one of the things that attracted me to education and being a professor, because I thought I'd be an electrical engineer like my father. My father was a very accomplished electrical engineer, and I thought that's what I
Uh-huh.
would do. And that's what I was registered for studying. But then
Hmm.
I had in electrical engineering in my sophomore year, so I was 19 years old. I had circuit theory taught to me by Amar Bose, Bose, of Bose loudspeaker fame.
Right.
And this guy was just such a dynamic and engaging. There was a big lecture hall of over 200 people, and he was just going, operating the blackboards and engaging people. He was fabulous. And then I had Professor Walter Lewin from the physics
Hmm.
department teaching me physics, and he would become the human pendulum, swinging back and forth in front of the class on a rope that was 50 feet long from the high ceiling, and he would be the pendulum. He said, "Look, I can put a 10-pound weight on here, and it goes back and forth, or I can put a 160-pound weight on here, me, and the pendulum swinging will be at the same rate. Let me demonstrate." And so it was stuff like that. I thought, well, holy smoke, you can really teach well in ways that the students will never forget and they'll
Forget,
understand.
yes.
Yeah,
Totally
yeah.
agree. So giving teaching by example is the thing which I believe that today's teachers are missing out because uh, I don't know, but
Yeah.
teaching by
Anyway,
example is very really necessary and Yeah, that's how people learn, and that's how that particular thing which they showed keeps in their mind, and they can recall at any time, like this.
Right, right, right. I mean, I'll never forget my professor of physics
Right.
swinging back and forth on a
So
pendulum.
in the classroom.
Oh, another thing he said, if I take this pendulum and I let it go, there's air friction. So
Right.
when it comes back, it won't. It'll be a little bit less. It won't go. It won't travel back quite as far
Right.
as it would otherwise. Let me demonstrate. So he goes up against a wall. He has his head against the wall. He takes
Mm,
the pendulum, which is a 10-pound weight on a big rope. He puts it right against his chin.
right.
He said, okay, now I'm going to risk my life here. I'm going to let this go. It's going to swing out like this, and it's going to come back. And let's hope and pray that it doesn't crush my brain and my chin. And he lets it go, and it comes back, and it's this far away from his chin when it
Right.
stops. Now, you know, look at this. 50 years later, I remember this. You
Right.
know,
Yes, correct.
I remember
Yes,
this.
right. So there, even I remember a few things when uh, teachers used to so even the same pendulum example was given with the ball, tennis ball, and I still remember that. And there are a lot of examples which teacher used to give, and
Yeah,
you still remember them because they were there not just to teach you, or just to like it's just like something in syllabus, but they were there to make that thing in your mind, and to keep that in your mind, because that basic thing is going to help you in your whole life.
right, right. And the idea is always to be curious and to try to learn more. Some people say, a day without learning something new is a day wasted.
Right,
And that,
yes, correct,
yeah.
totally
So
right.
every day we try to learn at least one thing that's new.
Okay, great. So apart from your using the computer, what do you do?
What do I do? Well,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, I'm asked to write uh, short autobiographical things about my life, and I've got two or three of these things in process right now that are going to go out in the various magazines.
Okay. Oh, oh, great. So,
Yeah, I
so
mean, they're asked. They find my life interesting, as I have found it interesting. I'm
it
very,
is,
very,
it is. I
yeah.
must say it is.
And so they want me to share it, and hopefully to engage other people to try to, you know, I'm a risk taker, to say take some risks, go out in intellectually unexplored areas,
Hmm.
knowing that there's a rocky road here that may be dangerous, and always be curious, and trying to engage with other people. And anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I have two or three of these things that are putting together right now.
Okay. How about so just a question. How about an interview with your colleagues? So you have introduced Arnold, right? Your friend to Henrik. Arnold?
Arnold, Professor Arnold Barnett. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I was thinking,
I've known him for so many years. He was one of the official witnesses to my wedding when
okay.
I got married, like infinite years ago. He
Uh,
in Hawaii. In Hawaii, my wife and I eloped to Hawaii. Nobody knew we were going to get married, and
mhm.
and he was there, and he was one of those who was witnesses to it. Yeah,
Witnesses.
yeah.
Okay, okay. How is doing?
He's a great guy. He's the world's expert on airline safety.
Okay. Where he is now?
It's MIT.
Okay. So he goes to MIT daily?
He's sent. He's. I'm retired. I don't go there at all. He's semi-retired. He goes there about two
Oh,
days about 2 days a week.
okay. Okay. So how often do you meet him?
How often do I what?
Meet him.
Um, we typically every Thursday at 3 o'clock. He comes over to my house, and he and Maisie and I go for a walk in the woods. So
Okay.
every week we're good friends. We're good friends.
Great, great. I really want to have an interview with him if you can pitch both
Yeah.
of you. So I'm sure when two friends sit together and talk about each other, there are a lot of stories come out. This is
have you
my experience.
have you communicated with him?
I guess Henrik tried to, but uh, he's busy. I didn't get the update, but what Henrik told me is that he's busy and he's not interested in any interview or something like this.
Okay. He is very busy. He's very busy. He is sought after as an expert witness in court cases. So in
Okay,
court cases that require probabilistic inference about probability of this happening and that happening, he is probably the number one expert witness in the United States. So he always has a queue of requests to be an expert witness.
hmm,
Uh, uh, Typically, he has to go to New York City or Washington D.C. to do this.
okay, wow. So I
I'm
can
lucky to
understand.
I'm lucky to know people like him.
Yeah, yes, when you say these words that you are lucky, you are blessed to have these kind of people around you, that means a lot. And they are the people who makes your life more beautiful, and uh, it always what helps you to wake up the next morning.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, and look up in the sky and say thank you for another day,
Yes,
which is what I
right.
do.
Yes,
Which
correct.
is I do. Every day is a gift. Every day is a blessing.
Yes, right. And people like your friend is a gift as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I'm I'm sort of bored now. I don't have
Okay.
anything to ask, but it was really nice meeting with you. And
Nice meeting with you
so
too.
yes, I one question I have. So would you be interested in going one of our uh, events in I guess it's in Texas. I guess I can confirm the address in a while. But if you are interested, so I can arrange a pass for you.
To do what in Texas? To travel to
Uh,
Texas?
event. AI event,
Yeah.
big data and AI
I
event.
I think probably no. I think probably
Okay,
no. Yeah, yeah.
okay. So I just asked because we are the media partner for that particular event, and I just thought to ask you if you are
Yeah.
interested. No problem, no problem.
No problem.
So
Well,
yeah,
great talking with you today. Thank you.
yes, same
Yeah.
here. It was if I say anything wrong, I'm sorry from my end, but I
No, no,
tried to
no.
make this interview more of a conversation rather than a question and answer, right? I tried to make it kind of a debate or a conversation interview.
Just a friendly conversation.
Yeah,
That's what we had.
yes,
Friendly
correct,
conversation.
yes. I
So what
always try to
happens?
take
So what happens to this? Are you going to write it up and it's going to be an article or something, or what happens to this?
both.
Anything? Does
Uh,
anything happen?
will publish this. So I've recorded this video as well. So this
Yeah.
interview is recorded. So we'll publish it on our platforms. We will tag you, okay? And also we'll write the article and we'll also publish that one also on our website.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
It's really nice talking with you. And we have a couple of things for you if you might be interested. So I'll keep you posted over the email, or I'll ask Henrik to do the things to ask you. If you find it interesting, you can just let us know and we can start doing or start working on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Terrific. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Enjoy your day. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye now.
Take care.